Hey guys, it's Greg Towne, host of the podcast Go Time, where every week I sit down with some of the top leaders of their industries and professions, and they share with you how they became the trendsetters of their industries. It's Go Time. All righty, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is Greg Towne, your host of the podcast Go Time. And I have the honor and the pleasure sitting with one of probably what I consider is the top leader, at least in that I know of in my neck of the woods when it comes to corporate entertainment, when it comes to magic, when it comes to education. And also what it turns into is he takes it, he takes the skills of his magic and helps turn that into income producing real estate properties. I wish to welcome you, Mr. Jeff Evans. How are you doing today?
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you. So Jeff, I always love learning about how people go into business ownership, how people go into the entrepreneurial world. So please share with us, how did you get started?
So for me, it really wasn't a choice. I've been passionate about doing magic since I was in high school, and I did it all through college. And at the time I didn't want to work for, a real job. So it was just natural to keep doing magic after college. And I've been doing it full time since 98.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what was it like when you first got started back in 98?
It was tough. Business started very slow. Luckily, lived with my parents for several years.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had had to stop a real job to do magic full time, I would not have made it. So
Wow.
Definitely something that over the years, as you have repeat clients and you learn more about the marketing, because show business is really more about the business than it is the show, even though you have to know what you're doing. But if you don't know business, you're not going to make it.
It's funny. I work with a lot of what I call professional people, where they have to be skilled at providing the service that they provide professionally to their customers and clientele, but they're also responsible for generating their own marketing and their own lead generating and finding their own customers. And I find it humorous. Like, we'll take dentists and attorneys, they'll spend close to 6 figures going into debt to become the skilled in the craft what they do, and they never take a class on how to go find business.
Yeah, and that's so important, because you can be the best at something technically, and if you don't understand the business side, it's going to be really rough.
Yeah. So if you could go back in time and you could share life lessons with, what was it, 1998 Jeff and stuff, what would be some of those things that you wish you could go back in time you could tell yourself?
I think that I was too aggressive with some of my marketing. I think it's more about having good relationships with people, and once they know and like you, then they'll do business with you. But if you try and force your sales message down someone's throat, it doesn't work very well.
Mm-hmm. How do you find it's best to build those relationships with people?
It really takes time. I don't think you can just go in and in 6 months build a good portfolio of customers. A lot of my customers are people who hire me every couple of years or every few years. And so over time, it just becomes so much easier doing business.
Mm-hmm. And so I find it awesome that you kind of take your revenue source of your show business and your magic business, and you tie that also into your real estate investing. How did you get started in that?
So I'm not a big real estate investor at all. It's just I have a few properties, but I think it's important that whatever you do to make your money, you need to know how to earn your money, but then once you have that money, how do you make it grow for you? Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be doing kids' birthday parties in retirement. I want to be able to enjoy that retirement too. So once you have the money, whether you're investing in another business or obtaining different income streams so that you're not physically having to work for it. For me, I chose real estate because I don't understand stocks. So it's worked out well for me.
Awesome. What would you say is your favorite thing with real estate?
Well, the most important thing is I do residential real estate. So the most important thing is the screening and just making sure you have good clients or good tenants who aren't going to destroy the property and who are qualified to pay rent on time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do have rentals, don't be afraid to say no to people. Make sure you get a good person in there. And if you have bad tenants, it's just a big hassle.
I can hear you on that. I can hear you on that. Any other advice you would give for somebody that's looking at getting started in real estate, or looking at buying like their first income property or their first rental property?
There are a lot of good books on the market. I got started from the Robert Kiyosaki books, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series. There's a lot of good information there. There's some good podcasts like Bigger Pockets has a lot of information. They've got a website with a lot of resources. There's also different real estate investment groups that meet here in Puget Sound. Hang out with other people who are landlords. You'll learn a lot just by watching what they do. So I would say first get educated and then decide if you want to invest in that. And I'm not saying that you have to invest in real estate, but whatever it is that you're interested in, get as much information first before you get started.
I hear you on that. You shared with the book, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I remember that book, and it's funny because for me, that was actually one of the hardest books for me to ever read. Not that it is written difficult to understand or written difficult for grammatic or like a thick or huge book. But man, that book sucker punched me left and right. I think it was after reading that book was when I realized that I needed to step out of corporate America.
It really teaches you lessons about cash flow and what are assets and what are liabilities. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think they're buying assets, but they're actually buying, like, if you ask my friend what his assets are, he would list his cars, his motorcycle, and his boat. But those are really things that are taking money out of your pocket, which isn't to say you can't buy those things because they're fun, but just understand what they are.
Yeah. Yeah. So what have been some of your best experiences, either in the show business industry or with your rental properties and stuff? What have been some of your best experiences?
Well, this last May, I was able to buy a property that was in really bad shape. I got it for a really good price. It took about 2 months fixing it up, and then I sold it on a lease option to a fellow who's hopefully going to buy it in about 6 months from now. But I was able to get a huge return on my investment just by putting in the time to fix it up and then find someone who wasn't qualified to get a loan from a bank at the time, but he's qualified to rent. And hopefully at the end of this next 6 months, he'll be able to get that loan to, finish the transaction.
Awesome. Any other things that any other great experiences that you've seen?
Just a couple other ways that you can invest in real estate is through self-directed IRAs. Mm-hmm. So you can take money that, rather than investing the money in your IRA in traditional things like mutual funds, you can use that to buy real estate, although there's a lot of rules you have to follow. This is called, maybe you've heard of Bank on Yourself or Infinite Banking System. It's kind of becoming your own banker. Mm-hmm. It's a way of buying. And I can't explain it in just a few minutes, but it's a dividend paying life insurance policy that you fund, and then you can borrow money from yourself. And so rather than going to banks when you want to buy something like an investment, a business or a property, then you're borrowing money from yourself and not paying interest. And you qualify.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if you're interested in that, go online to bankonyourself.com and you can learn about that.
Okay. What changes do you see coming in the field, either in the magic or the show business side, or what changes are you seeing within the real estate market?
Well, for magic, luckily magic is something that's so far been unaffected by technology, meaning that a person booking their company holiday party isn't able to go to China to do that. It's something it's a service provided by me in person. So crossing my fingers that doesn't change much. As far as real estate, the changes I see, prices are really going up. I don't know if that's going to continue. So I'd say that if you're investing in real estate, don't be expecting to flip houses hoping that they're going to keep appreciating a lot. I mean, well, you're the person to know about this because you're a realtor. I would say if you're an investor, make sure that it has cash flow.
Yeah. Cash
flows, then you don't have to worry about what happens appreciation-wise.
Yeah, I think a lot of us in 2006, we kind of learned that the hard way, as a lot of people started speculating, what I call speculating within the real estate market, and not really too concerned about the cash flow, anticipating that they would, recoup any losses on what we call the back end of the appreciation. And now the mantra is more of, okay, the appreciation is just the frosting on the cake. And, to structure your deals to where, you've got cash flow, even if that means, the old, no money down, programs out there, I think have gone by the wayside, and saying, and understanding how to structure your deals to where that you got cash flows, you're getting a return on investment.
Yeah, like I don't qualify for traditional loans now, so I need to be more creative with my financing.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is a smart thing. I mean, banks don't want people getting houses that can't afford them.
Yep. Now you mentioned something on the magic side, how technology hasn't really changed that, and it's very much relationship based. What are things that you do to kind of help? I mean, and I love that, because that lesson right there goes to all different industries. But what are some of the things that you do to really kind of help, form a relationship with a prospective customer or client or company or something of that aspect?
I still do networking stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Chamber of Commerce and other types of networking, but I use it more as a way of checking in with people that I already know. I mean, I do meet new people, but it's more of saying hi to previous clients and people who already know, and just kind of cultivate those relationships. And actually, I kind of lied when I said that technology hasn't changed magic. It has changed the way people book their entertainment. Oftentimes now I'm booked by people who find me online through these booking sites that are not local, but there's sites like Gig Masters and Gig Salad where they have thousands of performers all over the world. And so people doing searches, they'll search for a city, and these Gig Masters or Gig Salads, they have all this kind of a stable of performers that the leads then go out to those performers. So it's important that you know how to use technology to have great videos online, great reviews online, and social media is important for really any industry.
Yeah, it's a lot of times I refer to that as it's the new way of doing social proofing. It's like, the old school way when, probably when you and I were kids growing up in school was, who were your friends? That was your social proofing and stuff. Now your social proofing is how well connected are you in social media? And I always talk to people about it's more important to engage with your social media, contacts than buying for me, it's not about the likes and the shares and the retweets or anything of that aspect. It's all about the engagement now.
Yes. And make sure you have good reviews online, and make sure that you're Googling yourself so that if something bad does come up, that you're able to address that and you're not blindsided when people are saying, or just not even contacting you.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome. Well, talking about social media and stuff, what's the best way for somebody to connect with you or to follow you?
You can find me on Facebook at Jeff Evans Magic, no spaces, Jeff Evans Magic, and my website is amazementproductions.com.
Awesome. We'll make sure to kind of, tag those in and link those in and stuff. And, for various channels, we're going to be putting this out through like Podbean and YouTube and however else it goes out. So what's that one question you wish more people would ask you?
That's a good question. I was not expecting that question. Well, we were talking about social media, so let's take a step back to old school media. I'm a big fan of libraries.
Uh-huh.
Libraries have, even today, I have tons of books. Actually now I tend to do more podcasts and audiobooks just because I'm in my car so much, but take advantage of the free resources at libraries. You'd be amazed that you can check out stuff for free that might cost $30 online.
Yep. Awesome. I'm a huge reader myself. I mean, I'm actually looking over at my my library bookshelf and stuff. And yeah, I'm a huge reader myself, and a huge, a lot of audiobooks and stuff when I'm driving, and great stuff in that aspect. So I know you also wanted to show us a little magic trick. Show us how you make some money.
I will. I'm glad you asked. A friend of mine, I'm going to move this down just a tad, gave me this. He works for the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, and I don't even know if we should be showing this online. It's probably hard to tell through the screen, but this is the paper that they actually print bills. Oh, I've got it. Wait a minute. Hold on. Kind of look at my screen. I didn't know what you said. Okay, so it looks like regular paper, but it's actually fabric that they print bills on. Not just any bills, but $100 bills.
Nice.
And that's my retirement plan.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us, to Jeff. Any final thoughts or comments or parting wisdom?
I'd say that education is the most powerful tool you can have.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you once again for joining us on today or this week's podcast, Go Time, where I get to sit down with the industry's leaders and movers and shakers. And Jeff, as always, it's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you, Greg. I'll see you around town.